Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon to who is following from China. My name is, starting the screen now. My name is Alessio Petrino. I'm the knowledge coordinator of the Sme Center. And today I will be your host and moderator. And it's a great pleasure to be here today and to organize this webinar. And it's a pleasure to do it together in partnership with PARP, which is the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development. And today we also have many participants from Poland. And I think this is the first time that we organize something together in this phase of the SME Center with the Polish organization. So it's a pleasure, and we hope that there will be other activities to follow. Maybe I will go very quickly through the agenda. Today we have 4 presentations. The first presentation will be from our partner from CVC, who is a partner of the SME Center, and it will focus on a general regulatory and policy market overview of the healthcare and the medical sector in China. Then there will be 2 presentations from the SENET consortium. SENET is an EU-funded project focusing on EU-China cooperation in healthcare. In particular, the first speaker will present some cases of joint EU-China projects, cooperation projects, while the second speaker will introduce some of the co-funding mechanisms available both at the EU level, but also at the Chinese local level. The last presentation will focus on industry level cooperation. So today we have many participants from companies, so it will be very, it will give many insights to these participants. We will have a Q&A session at the end where all participants can submit any questions. Before starting, I would like to give the floor to Magdalena, who is a representative from PARP for some welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Alessio, for the introduction. Good morning and good afternoon. As it was said, I represent the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development, and we are very honored to be able to support today's event. And we are very grateful to the organizers and to the speakers for this opportunity. Since a large part of the participants are Polish companies, we are even more grateful for the fact that they can have this opportunity to learn more about the Chinese market. I will allow myself to say just a few words about our agency and why we are here today at this event. So the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development is quite well known in Poland, especially among the Polish SMEs. We are mostly known from providing Polish companies with financial support, especially for their innovativeness, for the development of their activities, but also for support in terms of international cooperation. And apart from the financial support, we also provide some non-financial services, also in the field of international cooperation. And although we do not limit ourselves to a closed list of sectors at which we cooperate, we do focus some of our activities on several of them. And one of those sectors is the branch of medical devices and medical technologies. I would like to mention 2 projects we run, which are very important to us and which are related to today's event in a way. One of the projects is the program of promotion of the Polish medical devices manufacturers. And normally in the reality pre-pandemic, we would be right now in the middle of organizing several promotional stands at international trade fairs around the world. But of course, it is very difficult to do that at the moment. So we decided to use our experience from another project and combine it and deliver Polish and foreign companies with a different service. So the second project I mentioned is the Enterprise Europe Network. And as a matter of fact, both the EU SME Center and the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development are members of this network. It was created by the European Commission and its main role is to provide companies with information through similar seminars and webinars like today's, and also to provide the companies with matchmaking services, which means actually enabling them to meet future business and technology partners. So as a result of those two projects, we are going to organize another event, which will be a strictly matchmaking event. It will consist of B2B meetings between companies from various countries. And it will actually take place in less than 2 weeks. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to invite you all to participate in the event. It's called Met to Meet. And participation is free of charge, and we already have more than 120 participants registered from, as far as I can remember, 18 countries. So I think that it will be a great opportunity for companies participating in today's event, because our matchmaking event will focus on medical devices sector. And I think it will be a great continuation and for you to opportunity to use the knowledge you will gain at today's webinar. So without further ado, I would like to wish you a fruitful event. Of course, I will stay to answer all the questions, and I will myself to paste some links in the chat box. And now I just hope you will receive all the answers to your questions about Chinese market. And I hope that in the near future, we'll be able to meet in person at one of our stands. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. And maybe I would suggest if you could write the link of the Met to Meet event in the chat so that everybody could access it very easily. I would now like to introduce very briefly the SME Center. I'm sure most of you already know. If Serena can you please change the slide? But for those of you who don't, the SME Center is a project funded by the European Union. It has been around for 11 years already, and the current phase started last year, and it will run until next year in March. It is implemented by a consortium of 5 European Chambers of Commerce and Business organizations, which you can find at the bottom of the slide. As Magdalena mentioned, we are a member of the European Enterprise Europe Network, and we partner with also many other agencies, being it business, but also government, both in China and in Europe. And we have a physical office in Beijing, which is where I am now. Yes, next slide, please, Serena. The SME Center mainly provides 4 types of services. The first is called Knowledge Center. Basically, we write a lot of sectoral reports, market reports, but also on cross-cutting issues such as taxation, human resources, and so on. Also guidelines on certification standards, and so on. The second service is called Advice Center, and I will dedicate a couple of minutes to this in the next slide. Then we have a training center. We organize various trainings, workshops, webinar, as we're doing today. Both in China. In China, we tend to do it physical events because situation here is much better, or otherwise online. And then last, we also have an advocacy platform through which we gather mostly, yes, European SMEs, and we disseminate information about upcoming calls for comments on draft regulations or new regulations published, and so on. Next slide, please, Serena. I mentioned the Advice Center. We have at the SME Center, we have a team of experts, both in-house and external, that are available to answer any questions that either the SMEs or also Chambers of Commerce or business support organizations may have. And these questions are also could be also very technical. For instance, I have this product, which standards do I need to comply with in order to be able to export it to China? Or I have my product stuck at the customs, what shall I do? Or many other technical questions. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. And all the services that I mentioned are free. So you will not need to pay anything, and we are here for you. So please make sure that you use us. Next slide, please. And you can do this through a specific function on our website or also by email. A quick overview of what's happening next. April and May are actually very busy months for us. We have an average of 6 to 7 activities in these 2 months. Here I only listed a few. We have another 2 other events next week, one on data and cybersecurity. And if you are involved in the medical sector, this is also an aspect that you should pay attention to, sharing of medical research data and so on. We also have other events like how to export wine or cross-border e-commerce, but also water management, or another one on the 27th of April, which I didn't list here, is about due diligence on potential partners. We are also organizing participation to trade fairs in China. Here, there will be one in 2 weeks, Interclean, which is about cleaning equipment, but there will also be others, including an USME pavilion at the China International Industry Fair this year in September in Shanghai. More details will be on our website. We have reports, and I would also like to mention that we have just launched this, we call it self-diagnosis tool, which is a tool that helps you answers many questions, test your knowledge of China. We provide explanations and FAQs and reports that could help you to obtain a more in-depth knowledge of the Chinese market. Next slide, please. I would invite, there will be a Q&A session at the end, but I would invite you to send all the questions you have at any point. So not only during the Q&A session. The slides will be shared if the speakers allow us to do so. And I would also like to mention that this webinar is recorded and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. The Sme Center has a YouTube channel where all the recordings of previous webinars are. And during in the recording, there will not be any personal information shown. So all the participants, even if you type questions in the chat, your personal information will not be seen in this in the recording. Next slide, please. Now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Wendy Wang, who is the Director of Healthcare and Life Sciences at the CBBC, the China-Britain Business Council. CBBC is one of the implementing partners of the SME Center since the very first phase. Wendy leads all the sector activities of CBBC, she's the key. She's also our key expert for all healthcare, pharma, and medical devices. She actually is in the process of updating our report on China's healthcare sector, and we expect it to be completed in a couple of months. Wendy has many years of experience in these sectors, also working in other embassies in China. And I will give the floor now to Wendy for the first presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aliso, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. As Aliso just introduced, I'm Wendy, the Director of Healthcare Life Science in CBBC. So today, I will share with you 3 topics of healthcare agenda in China. Brief introduction of CBBC. On top of what Aliso just introduced, we have more than 66 years. CBBC has established presence in both UK and China. We currently have 10 representative offices in China. CBBC works with Department of International Trade of UK very closely in China. We jointly promote UK's 70 years experience of running the National Health Service Therefore, we are well recognized by the Chinese healthcare stakeholders and has set up comprehensive network in China. Please allow me to start with my first topic, China healthcare overview. Is Healthy China 2030, which published by Chinese State Council in 2016. This report has entailed undertaking of healthcare reform and spending around 5 key areas. They are service delivery, identifying essential medicine, public health, insurance, and public hospital reform. The above focal points provided opportunities to foreign organizations to set up cooperation mechanism with Chinese healthcare stakeholders, as well as service providers in China. To do business with China healthcare in China, you are suggested to understand the healthcare market in China well. China healthcare industry is currently ranked the 2nd largest in the world, just behind the US. The market value was at US $1.1 trillion in 2019. Factors including fast aging populations, rapid economic growing, as well as expenditure on basic health insurance has increased the demand of healthcare services. Therefore, we have witnessed the rapid growth in the subsectors of healthcare and life science, such as pharmaceutical sector, which including manufacturing of pharmaceutical machinery, clinical instruments, manufactured clinical substance, and medications, medical devices sector, as well as digital health and telemedicine. They are considered to be further developed in China. The last but not least is the 14th five-year plan, which has published by the State Council of China recently. The 14th five-year plan has put healthcare agenda again on the top of the national level of agenda, which is going to accelerating the development of personal commercial pensions in a main driver to improve the society and people's livelihood. As a result of pandemic, the public has paying more attention to healthcare. Topics such as early warning and diagnostics, diseases prevention and treatment, online medical services, medical equipment, etc. Therefore, we foresee key trends will be a rapid growth of biopharma sector, a strong growth of innovative medical devices, and more opportunities in digital primary care and clinical services, fast growing in rehabilitation services. Next, I'm going to introduce the healthcare stakeholders and their updates. There are 3 important stakeholders in the healthcare and life science sector. They hold many responsibilities in overall taking care of the healthcare and life science sector, as well as to deepening the reform in China. Here, I will only name a couple of their responsibilities. The first is China National Health Commission. Their main responsibilities including to organize the formulation of national health policies, to coordinate and promote the deepening of health reform of medical and health system to formulate and organize the implementation of diseases prevention and control plans. The second one is National Medical Product Administrations, known as CFDA before. The responsibility of NMPA is for drug, medical devices, and cosmetics regulations to supervise the safety of drug, medical devices, and cosmetics, to undertake the standard management for drug, medical devices, and cosmetics, to participate in formulating the National Essential Medicine List, and further develop GLP and GCP, etc. The third one is a relatively new organization which established in March 2018. It's called National Health Security Administration. This organization mainly responsible to draft law and regulations, policies and plans, as well as standards for medical insurance, to organize the formulation and implementation of supervision and management measures of medical security fund, to coordinate the treatment standards of urban and rural medical security, to organize the formulation and implementation of lung care insurance system, to formulate and supervise the implementation of bidding and procurement policy for drug and medical consumables. So the last topic, I will introduce some information about medical devices. The first is classification of medical devices. As you might know, medical devices have been classified into 3 categories, depending on the level of risk and the safety and effectiveness. The second is registration of medical devices. Depending on the classification of different types of medical devices, the administrative measures, regulatory agencies, product technical requirements, and type of test, as well as different clinical trial, can be varied depending on the classification of medical devices. Here is some additional information of newly invented products as well as imported products. Requirements about the registration. Next, talking about the regulation on the supervision of administration of medical devices. The requirements here, China has implemented a new regulation on the supervision of administration of medical devices. This one has been published recently and going to be implemented on the 1st of June this year. This newly enhanced regulation composed by 8 chapters with 107 articles in the new regulation. Among them, there are regulation about registration and filing, regulation about medical production, regulation about operation and use of medical devices, regulation about adverse event and recall of medical devices, supervision as well as inspection. This newly revised regulation has addressed the importance of medical devices innovation, as well as the requirement of clinical applications. The last topic I'm going to cover is procurement. This procurement topic has become more and more popular and draw massive attention of medical devices companies. As you might know, medical devices market in China is expected a rapid growth at a compound annual growth rate of 8.4% from $46 billion in 2019 to about $75 billion by 2025. However, foreign companies shall consider your business strategy in adopting the fast-changing market and localization market strategy, so to gain a ground to land your business in China. As you might be aware of the recent implemented regulation on centralized drug procurement program, there were more than 100 varieties of medicine was selected with an average price dropped by 54%. As a result of this centralized procurement program, a total of 53.9 billion RMB in expenses is saved by healthcare security fund and patients. Just it happened in recent months. So category stands selected through centralized procurement for high-value medical devices saw an average price drop by 93%, which has saving the expenses of healthcare security fund and patient about 10 billion RMB through this centralized procurement regulation implementation. The main driver of this centralized procurement policy, as well as newly implemented volume-based procurement policy, are strongly driven by the National Health Security Administration. That's all I would like to share with you today. Please send me email if you have any inquiry or would like to clarify any topics I have been covered here. Thank you very much.
Third presentation is from Johnny Pan. Johnny Pan is international consultant at Sociedade Portuguesa de Inovação, SPI, which is a pretty renowned firm implementing many EU projects in China. Specifically, Johnny has 6 years of experience dealing with European SMEs, writing market reports, including on the healthcare sector, advising SMEs how to find cooperation opportunities with China. And now I would give the floor to Johnny, for an overview of what funding mechanisms could be available for European entities.
Thank you, Alessio. Thank you for your introduction. So my name is Johnny Pan. I'm an international consultant at SPI. It's a management consulting company headquartered in Portugal, and I'm based in Beijing, supporting the European SME in approaching the Chinese market by providing the consulting services. And we are also partnership with the many Chinese local entities in terms of connecting the European part to the Chinese part and building the relationship for both sides. Okay, so today my presentation will be the Horizon Europe and the funding from the local government, especially talking about Shanghai. Next slide, please. So my presentation will be mainly talk about the two parts. The first one is the funding scheme of the Horizon Europe, and I will point out just the overview of the funding scheme of the Horizon Europe. And then secondly, I will talk about the funding from the Chinese government in Shanghai, the local government in Shanghai. Okay, next please. Yes, so Horizon Europe is the, as we know, Horizon 2020 is finished. So the Horizon Europe is the following European funded program. So this is the 9th European Research Innovation Framework Program running from the 2021 to 2027. And it is one of the key instruments of the European Union to accelerate European recovery, preparedness, and resilience. And it is also the most ambitious research and innovation program with a total budget of 100 billion euros. So Horizon Europe will be highly focused on the research and innovation perspective, which can provide the new knowledge and the innovative solution to overcome our societal, ecological, and economy challenges. Also, Horizon Europe helps the researcher and the top-class innovator to develop and deploy their ideas, and it teams up the best talents and equip them with the world-class research infrastructure. Moreover, it also supports the breakthrough innovation and helps to create the new services and the market. So in this slide, you can see there are 3 objectives outlined in Horizon Europe. The first one is to strengthen our scientific and technological base and develop the solutions for healthier living, drive the digital transformation, and fight climate change for our collective resilience. Secondly, is to boost the Europeans' innovation capacity and competitiveness and jobs, and ensure the European technological sovereignty. The last objective is to deliver our citizens' priorities and sustain our social economy model and values. Next, please. Yes, so this slide is about the Horizon Europe is investing in research and innovation and to shape our future. So Horizon Europe will tackle the climate change, and it will, over the 35% of the Horizon Europe spending will contribute to climate objective and to deliver on the EU strategy priorities, such as the recovery, green, and the digital transition. Also to tackle the global challenges to improve the quality of our daily lives. And Horizon Europe will also help to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And it also will boost the EU's industrial competitiveness and its innovation performance, especially supporting the market creating innovation via the European Innovation Council and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. So in addition, Horizon Europe will also strengthen the EU science and technology by increasing the investment in highly skilled people and cutting-edge research, and also enhance the access to excellence for the researchers across Europe to foster the participation and also for the international collaboration. Next slide, please. As you can see in this slide, Horizon Europe will have the total budget of 100 billion running from the 2021 to 2027. And this includes the 5.4 billion from the Next Generation EU to boost the recovery and to make the EU more resilient for the future. And about 30% of the EU funding under the Next Generation EU will be dedicated to fight climate change. And from this chart, we can also see there are more than half of the budget is allocated to the global challenges and the European industrial competition. And around 25 billion is allocated to the excellent science, and 13 billion will be allocated to the innovative Europe. Next one, please. Yes, so in this slide, you can see this is the structure of the Horizon Europe. And there are 3 main pillars and 1 horizontal pillar. So the first one is called the Excellence Science Pillar. This aims to increase the EU's global scientific competitiveness and also supporting the frontier research projects driven by the top researchers through the European Research Council, funds the fellowships for experienced researchers, doctoral training networks, and exchange through the Marie Curie program, and invest in the world-class research infrastructure. And the second pillar is the global challenge and the European industrial competitiveness, which is to support the research related to the societal challenges and also reinforce the technological and industrial capacities through different clusters. And it also sets out the ambitious goals for the EU missions. It also includes the joint research centers, which supports the EU and the national policymaker with the independent scientific evidence and the technical supports. So in this pillar 2, this is one of the main pillar in the Horizon Europe program. There are several clusters, including health, culture and creativity, and the inclusive society, and also civil security for society and digital industry in space, and also climate and energy mobility. And last one is the food bioeconomy, and then the neutral resource for the agriculture and the environment. And the third pillar is so-called the Innovative Europe pillar. This aims to make the Europe a front runner in the market creating innovation by the European Innovation Council. And it also helps to develop the overall EU innovation landscape through the European Institute of the Innovation and the Technology, which foster the integration of the knowledge triangle of the education, research, and innovation. And the last pillar you can see from this chart is the horizontal pillar. This is about the widening the participation and also strengthening the European research area by increasing the support to the EU member state in their efforts to make the most of their national research and innovation potential, also fostering closer collaborations and spreading the excellence. Next slide, please. Yes, so what are the lessons learned from the Horizon 2020 to the Horizon Europe? So in the Horizon Europe, we have the several key elements that is included in the new program. So the first is to support the breakthrough innovation. So we know that the European Innovation Council, it aims to provide the one-stop shop to bring the most promising ideas from the lab to the real-world application, and also support the most innovative startups and the company to scale up their ideas. And then it is to deliver the targeted solution to societal challenges together with the citizens. So in the Horizon Europe program, we have the EU mission. These missions will be implemented and built toward the ambitious goals to tackle the several issues that affect our daily life, such as fighting against the cancer and also adapting to the climate change, also living in the greener cities and to have the healthy food and natural for people and for the climate. So there are a total 5 missions that will be included in the EU missions, and some specific mission will be programmed within the global challenges and the European industrial competitiveness pillar. Then that's the next one is to strengthen the international cooperation. So how do we expect the international cooperation in the Horizon Europe program? So Horizon Europe will ensure the effectiveness to tackle the global society challenges and to extend the openness to associations for non-EU countries with the good capacity in science, technology, and innovation, meaning that it is general opening for the international participation and also intensified the targeted actions with some programs like the flagship initiatives and also the joint calls. The next one is to reinforce the openness. The key is to enhance the better dissemination and exploitation of the RNI result, and also support to active the engagement of the society. So in the open science policy, such as mandatory open access to publication and also open access to research data, and also use the European Open Science Cloud as appropriate. So the beneficiaries can ensure that they or their authors should retain the sufficient intellectual property rights to comply with the open access requirement. And then the next one is the rationalize for the funding landscape. So it means to have the streamlined approach to the European partnerships and the streamlined number of partnerships to encourage wide participation for the partners from public and to the private sectors. And the last one is to encourage the participation. So the idea is to have the wide participation and also spread the excellence that is able to create the wide perspective to improve the lower RNI performing countries and to build up the excellence centers, also to improve their capacity and facilitate the collaborated links. Next slide, please. Yes, about the strategy plans from 2021 to 2024. So the strategy plans defines the orientation for the first 4 years of the program and outlines the contribution of its various parts. So by establishing the strategy research and innovation agenda, it takes an important step toward the work program. So in the strategy plan, it defines the 4 key strategy orientation, including the promoting the open strategy autonomy by leading the development of the key digital, enabling and emerging technology sectors and the value chain, and also restoring the European ecosystem and biodiversity and managing the sustainable natural resource. Also making the Europe the first digital enabled circular and a climate natural and a sustainable economy. So each of these key strategy orientation covers 3 to 4 impact areas, which will be included into a number of the expected impacts. So they are considered the core element of the impact-driven approach in the Horizon Europe program, because they describe the long-term effects to the research and innovation. In total, the strategy plans define the 32 impacts that cover a wide range of the social, economy, ecological, and also the scientific aspiration. Next one, please. And then I will talk about the funding program from the Chinese side, which is from the Shanghai, the local government from Shanghai. Next, please. So Shanghai is the one of the region offering the largest number of the funding program and the financial incentives, and also different level of administrations. So one of the funding program is the Shanghai Science and the Technology Committee, So this is called STCSM, which is responsible for the scientific and technological development for the city and supporting the collaboration for the domestic and international institutes in terms of the science and technology. So they are responsible for international cooperation exchange and also the science and technology achievement, transformation, and high-tech industrialization. So in the following slide, I will introduce several introduce about the programs that was formulated by the Shanghai Science and Technology Committee. Next slide, please. Yes. So the first program is the science and it's the Intergovernmental International SMT Cooperation. So this program is mainly to support the science and the research cooperation in for the university and the research institute in Shanghai, and also the enterprise to cooperate with the relevant countries and also the other region to further strengthen the academic and the technological exchange, also to further support the scientific and technological cooperation. So the target of this topic, this call will be focused on the enterprise, university, and also the research structures. And the research area in this topic will be mainly focused on biomedicine, integrated circuits, artificial intelligence and energies, and environment and the new materials, and also the advanced manufacturing. And the duration of this call will be running from 2021, July 2021 to June 2024. And the funding, the scale of the funding for this call will be the total amount does not exceed the 500 million RMB. And the application are submitted through the Shanghai Municipal Internet-based Science Information System. Next one, please. So this is the second topic, also in the Shanghai Science and Technological Committee. So this is also one of the key topic. It is about the enterprise international SNT cooperation program. The main objective of this program is to encourage the Shanghai's enterprise, also the foreign enterprise, to carry out the joint research and the development, and also cooperation in the technologies through the international cooperation exchange, and also sharing the international scientific and the technological resource. So they can both jointly develop the international market and also enhance the scientific technological innovation capacity for not only for the Shanghai enterprise, also for the international enterprise to enhance the international competitiveness. And the target of this call will be enterprise and also the SMEs. For the research area in this call, just like the previous one, this will be also focused on the biomedicine and also the energy, the AI, and also the new material. It will run from the July 2021 to June 2024. The deadline for application is March 18, but the new program will be updated in the website. The new deadline, the new deadline for the application will be updated in the website, the government official website. For the application, it is also the online submission program. You should check the link in the website and submit it online. Next one, please. So this is the third topic that I would like to share to talk about. This is the International Science and Technology Cooperation Partner Program. So the idea is to focus on the needs for the Shanghai Science Technology Center and to focus on the international experience and expanding and deepening the international cooperation network. So this program is mainly targeted in the university and the research structures. The research areas include the material science, information technology, and the environment and the climate change. This program will run from the July 2021 to June 2024. The deadline will be renewed in the website, and also the funding does not exceed for 3 million RMB for the project. Next slide, please. So this is the table that summarizes some eligibility requirements. So for the international participant, for the international application, you should be aware of these requirements before making the application. So you should know that the enterprise, the applicant should be the enterprise registered in Shanghai and with the cooperation contract or agreement signed with the foreign partners. And you should also know that for the project leader, they should commit to the authenticity for the material submit. For the reporting, until needs to have the better basis for the international cooperation with the foreign partner. For the consortium leaders, if the consortium leader is the enterprise, the reporting fund allocated by it should not be below the 2 to 1 with the government funds request during the applications. Next slide, please. Then I will introduce this another funding program by the Zhongjung Science Cities. So Zhongjung Cities, this is the world-class science cities located in Shanghai. And it has a very strong entrepreneur environment, also the convenient living facilities, and also the very unique culture gathering the world's top innovative talents and the national science facilities. Also the key university research institute, and also the research development centers in the Zhongjung area. And the leading industry in the Zhongjung area is mainly include the IC, the AI, and also the biomedicine. Next slide, please. So there's one special fund I will mention in this Zhongjung area. So this is called the Zhongjung Science City Special Fund, and the main objective for this fund is to support the Zhongjung Science City with the global influence of the innovation and the entrepreneurship incubation platform, and also the innovation laboratory. And the target of this fund will be the major projects implemented by the industrial and the commercial registrations in Zhongjung Science City and Zhongjung Park. But you should also know that there are some basic requirements when you apply for this fund. So the projects conforms to the leading direction of the Zhongjung Science City and industry. And also the project commits to complete the relevant development plans. And also for the applicants who want to apply for this fund, you should aggregate by the Zhongjung Science City's management office. The deadline for application for this fund is from the March to 2021 to April 2021. So the application is also online. So you can see the website from the Zhongjung Science Cities and to submit your applications online. Next slide, please. So finally, I would like to share with you the successful projects in Zhongjung area. So this slide, this one is called the this is called the Athlon Innovation Cluster. So this is located in Zhongjung Science Cities, and it has built the gene and also the R&D platform with the Germany based biotech company, and also the another company is called a single cell screening platform with the US company, Berkeley Lights. So at end of the 2020, the Athlon Innovation Cluster attract 60 biomedical startup and also founded in the companies from the China and overseas. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. I also have a couple of questions for you actually, and there's also one in the Q&A, but we can come back to this later. I will give the floor now to Jim for the last presentation, who is joining from a very nice location, I can see. And you are muted, we cannot hear you, but please.
Hello. Thank you very much, Alessio. Welcome to all the audience, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this very interesting meeting. So my company is called Lincare. We are a spin-off of the Barcelona Hospital Clinic, and we are a collaborative medicine company, which so we are not a medical device company ourselves, but we have 10 years experience in China and in a lot of projects that some of them incorporated medical device integration and another very close related topics. So I hope my contribution will be of interest, despite it's not specifically of medical device expertise only, but other things. So please, next slide. So I give you some background first, because our company is really small, and my expertise is more in the United States than in China. And then we'll explain some first-hand experience on the gaps that you can find in the cooperation with Chinese counterparts on medical device issues, and also some takeaway conclusions that I think can be of interest of the audience. So please, next slide. Some background, go ahead. To start, I was an early entrepreneur. When I was 25 years, I created an artificial vision company in Spain, which at that time was basically bullfighting and sangria. So that Barcelona was not at that time in the map as it is today. So the company was incorporated in the United States in 1988 and become the largest Spanish software exporter in between 4 years. You see, our team was very young. We sold this company, this product that was called TechSpert, that you can see in the picture. That was our team at that time. We sold the company to a large corporation in 2007, so it was a long 1988. So this is more or less 20 years history. And after this, I was the executive vice president of a strategy of INRA, which is a company that has some close ties with China, because 30% of all air traffic control in China is performed by, at that time, my company, Intercompany. So this was my first contact with China at that time. So next. Yeah, in 2010, the Harvard Business School decided to open a Harvard Center in Shanghai. I had to spend most of my life so far dealing with the United States. And I thought that was very interesting to know what was going up in China 10 years ago. Especially I was looking for entrepreneurs and new projects. I found this kind of landing very interesting because I had a first, let's say, guidance on what I should be expecting and how should I behave on business proposals. So this is my life in China starts in 2010. Since then on, we have done quite a few projects in China. Actually, we are currently running a hospital in Guangzhou in cooperation between the Spanish government and the Chinese government after an agreement of President Xi with President Sanchez. And we are also developing some other cooperation plans. Let's go ahead and go strictly to talk about some opportunities that we have been spotting during this time. So let me tell you first that if you are a SME, a small company selling medical devices in China, and there has been some questions in the panel that I would like to address. In general, Chinese hospitals don't buy non-Chinese products unless it's absolutely necessary, period. This is it. This is the local policy in China, which has a lot to do with the fact that China is developing great products right now. They are very competitive. They have very high quality. And the Chinese government is interested in giving support to these companies. So one of the things that you learn when you start dealing with China is that be aware that despite the market is pretty large, Margaret make very good point about the size and the growth. When they are, I think that in general, Chinese, this is a conference in Shanghai 4 or 5 years ago, and they have a lot of interest on European products, which doesn't mean necessarily that they are ready to buy, because all these companies, remember, that are public hospitals, most of them, 99% are public hospitals. And those public hospitals will very much likely buy a local product than an international if it's this kind of middle term category, okay? So next thing, so be aware that these, there are some recommendations at the end about this fact. So the second thing, yes, go ahead. This is, okay. Another thing is about buying products from China to distribute in Europe. This is really interesting for Chinese small and medium companies, and it's very interesting for European small and medium companies. I will recommend very much, and I think I don't need to recommend it because everyone is aware about the high quality most Chinese products are having right now. I think we have some problem with the slideshow presentation. It is, yeah, no, we were in the right place. I hear, thank you. So, but be aware about some problems that are getting solved over the time. And this brings us to some opportunities of cooperation. Well, first of all, there is one problem about the vision of small and medium Chinese manufacturers regarding these kind of products. The first problem is that there's a general belief that any country that doesn't speak Chinese speaks English. This is, as you know, this is normal. There has been previous panelists has explained that there have very long cooperation history between the UK and the United States and China, very long. So it's normal that most Chinese manufacturers will think generally that the market outside China is an English-speaking market, Well, the fact it is not. In Europe, actually, there's only one country which official language is English, which is Ireland. There's no one more. We are missing a lot, or UK friends. Okay, we are back here. It seems that we are experiencing some problems here. So when you start doing relations with Chinese manufacturers, make sure or help them to understand or educate them in the fact that in Europe, most consumers speak German, French, Italian, Greek, Polish, many other countries. Some countries accept English products, typically northern countries do. All the others normally don't. And we have problems. For example, for this particular product, the decimal separator is the dot. But in most countries in Europe, we don't use the dot as decimal separator, except if you are a scientist. Another problem is the integration documentation. In China, there's a change of OEM contractings and subcontractings between different companies. The result of this means that the documentation that when you need to integrate these Chinese products with your platforms, we have a platform to integrate different medical devices. Sometimes they are selling you a product, but they don't have access to the right technical documentation. This is something that we have experienced quite often. And there's something else, which is at the beginning. Back in 2015, this is getting better and better every time, I might say. There was another problem, is that because the local market is so big, they used to have someone for, let's say, international sales. But the problem is that this person is changing every 3 months. And this makes very difficult the relation, because every time that you are discussing any further order, you need to start back and forth. I'm putting this company, which is an example of that we experienced. This is a wonderful company, by the way, but they discontinued setting pedometers. They decided that this was not their business anymore. And we finally decided to go back and buy a Fitbit product, which is a company that was acquired by Google. So despite our efforts to deal with Chinese suppliers for this kind of medical device, at the end, we bought this Fitbit, which, by the way, is very likely a product that is manufactured in China, but is marketed by an American company in this case. So there's this problem, is that the product is good, but there's some problem around putting this product in the market, especially in Europe, because most of the companies has much more experience in the United States. And those of you that know the Europe market know that the differences are enormous. Let's go to the next slide to discuss some other topics. This is a company that all of you know, Mindray. This is a very promising company. They do wonderful products. They have become, I think, the 4th biggest medical device company in the world from almost nothing. And this is in their headquarters in Shenzhen. Well, another typical problem that we have experienced is that when dealing with these companies, they normally don't have any kind of cooperation or integration infrastructure in Europe at all. This was very typical of United States companies back in the 80s, and it's still happening with Chinese companies, is that they set a sales office, typically in Germany, and they are welcome for orders. But if you are an SME and you want to make a kind of integration with the products, it's very difficult to find what is your counterpart for discussion. Sometimes I had to look for someone in Shenzhen that could help us. They will tell us, talk with the German office. The German office will say, well, we don't know how to serve you, how to help you. So, and this is a problem of a very early stage of massive selling approach rather than legitimate or strong cooperation. Next slide. This is an even more interesting experience. This is a very successful startup in China. they are doing diagnosis systems, and most of their diagnosis systems are used for PCR diagnosis for COVID-19 in China. So this is really a very good product, and this is really a very, very good company. But the problem is that their competitors in Europe, usually this is a point of care analysis. So in less than 30 minutes, you have a PCR result at the point of care, wherever you are. And this is a terrifically good product. It's really good. The problem is that, unlike their American counterparts, the typical American counterparts will give this device for free, basically, and will charge for the reagents. So because once that the people has the device, the logic is that people will keep buying the reagent to do the test. But this company, this particular company, sells separately the device and the reagents. So you can, and the problem is that it's impossible to enter into the European market this way, because everyone says, well, the machine for me is for free from any other manufacturer. So why I need to pay for a Chinese one? So it's only a marketing issue. The way the marketing of this company, this wonderful company, has designed is for the Chinese market. And as Margaret explains, the Chinese market is a massive volume market, very different from the European one. So it's they have not yet adapted. I'm sure they will, and they will be very successful in Europe. Another problem is that most Chinese companies are aware about the CE certification and medical device certification. That's wonderful, but they are not aware that in Europe you need to provide after-sale support. So in other terms, when one machine gets broken, you need to have a local company that may fix it or replace it. And this particular company doesn't have any infrastructure in place. So the problem is that you cannot sell the product because European customers expect to have a local company that will service the product in case there's any problem. Let's go to another example in the next slide. This is a very popular company. This is Alibaba Cloud, which is, they have a wonderful cloud-based computing system. You know, Alibaba has many business. The internet cloud systems is only one of their divisions. Same like Amazon, by the way, they have very similar products. But one, and we use Alibaba Cloud, and we love Alibaba. But one of the problems is that all the service that we get is from Philippines. And if you know a little bit of geography, you know that Philippines is as far as it is possible from Spain. So it's like having your service support in the other side of the world and in the exact opposite time zone. This is another problem, is giving the support in the right place is also very important. So let's go into the next slide. And finally, this is something that has nothing to do with the companies themselves. This is a true experience that we had during the crisis of the coronavirus, and was related with such a simple thing like a face mask. Well, at the beginning of the crisis, there was a lot of lack of face masks, and the problem is that chirurgical masks were set as a medical device, which means that there was a lot of restrictions about importing and exporting. So the Spanish normalization agency, which is called AENOR, and is part of the ZIN, of the European normalization body, decided a new standard, which is a special standard for face masks. Well, the problem is that we cannot take this product out of China because the Chinese customs don't have this, they are not aware about this standard. They are only aware about American and European standards, but not about Spanish standards. And still more important, they need to have the title of the product in English, because the customs, this, I'm talking about the Shanghai customs, but I think is general in China, expect to find some English sentences. So the original package is the one in the top, which is the perfectly legal package that is as it is a standard in Spain. The second in the back with this English text is only because if you don't put this English text, you cannot take it out from the Chinese customs. So Chinese customs is also, let's say, still in the focus of exporting to United States and the UK, and is forgetting that other European countries use a different language. For those of you that are Chinese, that will be something like, for importing a product, exporting a product out into China, you will need to have a title in Japanese, which you will say doesn't make sense. No one speaks Japanese in China. Well, same here. No one speaks English in Spain. The Spanish language is Spanish, which, by the way, is a language which is spoken by more people than English. So at least deserves some kind of attention. So let's go to the next slide. Finally, the last problem is about finance. After we didn't used to have too many problems about importing and exporting products from China, except that after COVID, most of the purchases needs to be in upfront payment, and there are no letter of credit. So in some way, the financial system in China has reduced it for many companies, not all. The large companies keep having credit. This makes very difficult to make trading. It's still more difficult because there is all this limitation on the logistic capability because of the stop of commercial airline traffic, which means that most of the freight needs to there's difficult to find a slot to put your freight into a plane, and this makes that the delivery of the product is late, and you need to pay pretty much in advance. So there's a lot of uncertainties, and for example, the custom may take a few days, more than a week to clear. Exactly, there's a lot of room of improvement to this. So going to the next slide. Yes, I think that you may think that your main opportunity in cooperating with China is that you have your small European SME, and then you want to sell your products in China. You have this great market there. So if there is such a great market and they have such a great product, I'm sure it's going to be great. Well, I think there is an opportunity yet, and I think this opportunity will exist for a while, to help and assist Chinese companies to improve all these details in Europe. Improve not only distribution and sales. For example, most of you in the UK are used to go to Boots to buy things. But in most European countries, you cannot buy these kind of things in a supermarket, or there's no such a thing of big pharmacies. The system works in another way. So in every single European market, you need to work with a different channel. So let's see some things that we can do about it in the next slide. Well, for Chinese and European cooperation, we need to remember that European customers speak their own language. So this means that if you are a company that has well-established operations in one or more European countries, you are a very good partner for a Chinese counterpart that wants to sell products in German, French, Italian, Spanish, Greek, Polish, name it. you will find at the beginning that the Chinese manufacturers won't believe this is a need. But if you cooperate, it will be of great value for both parties. Second, you need to provide multilingual support. So when a German customer has a problem, he expects to call to a telephone where there's a German speaker giving him the support. There are some countries, by the way, I say Spanish because I'm from Spain, but I think Poland is also in the same level, that there are some countries that have very nice companies that can provide this kind of local support and multilingual support. So from one single side, you can provide multilingual support in many other European regions. Documentary credit needs to normalize. This is something that I expect to see in the next months for sure, because this is good for them. And then remember that setting a representative office in Germany, I think 90% of all the Chinese companies are in the same building in Germany. They have the same representative company in Germany, which is wonderful because Germany has a very good administrative work and makes these CE procedures very efficiently. That's wonderful. But then remember that you need to provide local support in all the countries, in France, in Netherlands, in Spain, in Ireland. So it's not possible to provide, there's no manufacturers in Europe that provide service from Germany to all the countries. Usually it's also an expensive way to do it. So normally you diversify. In the next slide, there are a few more recommendations. Remember, the local hardware maintenance and replacement is important, and you need to provide 12 months warranty. It's not just CE mark, it's a little bit more than that. This is some protection that European customers have. And another thing is to remember to our Chinese counterparts that FDA has nothing to do with Europe. So because some insist, oh, we do have an FDA license. Well, but FDA is for the United States. We are in Europe, and Europe has its own agency for that. Marketing and support. And here comes the point. Either for Chinese, and now I would talk about European manufacturers, partnering together is a great deal. It's a win-win thing, because it's much easier to access both markets if you have a strong partnership. In the next slide, let me tell you something about the Spanish, the European medical device companies. I'm talking about small and medium medical device companies. Big companies have Philips or Siemens have a tremendously good infrastructure in China. So they want, I don't expect them to be in this forum. So let's go ahead and a few advices, and that will be my end in the next slide. Well, first of all, you need to have a trustable partnership with someone. It's not like I'm going to look for a distributor. It's more like I'm going to look for a partner, a real partner, a reliable partner. And a reliable partner in China, after my 10 years of experience, which is limited, requires some kind of mutual introduction by someone. It's not that you put a post and you look for a distributor and you find someone that immediately will partner with you. So this needs to create a plan. And I say that good things take time to grow. There's a Chinese saying that says that good meals takes time to cook. So think about a 5-year plan, not a 6 months plan. This is very important. During the first 5 years of our experience in China, we were just building our relationships. Just building relationships for 5 years pays back a lot. A third tip, don't nominate an assistant to go to China for the Chinese market. The CEO of the company is the one. Why? Because according to Chinese business etiquette, the person that you will be meeting will depend on what is your level in the company. If you send an internship to China, this internship person will meet with an internship person in the other company. They won't get anywhere. If you are the CEO of the company and you establish the relation yourself, you will establish the relation with the CEO of the other company. And this will smooth things a lot. There's a little trick, by the way, is that when you are in a business that requires different partnerships, it's better that those partnerships are in different regions. Why? Because it provides you a little bit better level of protection, because you don't have all your know-how in a single partner, which may have some adverse consequences over the time. Ensure, of course, to have the right IP protection. That's really important. And very important also, remember that most IT Western tools don't work in China. I still see a lot of companies that are trying to sell their products in China, and they put their websites in a Google server. Well, Google servers are not accessible from China. Or they put their promotional videos on YouTube. YouTube is not accessible in China. So if you want to start your business in China, have a partner, take time, do it at the highest level possible, protect your IP, and remember to use the right tools to access the market. So I think this is my takeaway in the next slide, and this is my end. I think there's a tremendous opportunity for European and Chinese companies to do great, terrific partnerships together. One of the good things about Chinese companies is that when they partner, they are very respectful with the other counterparts. So this is not like they are going to buy you. You are going to cooperate. And this is going to cooperate in both ways. They're going to help you to reach the Chinese market. You are going to help the Chinese manufacturers to reach the European market. And this is a win-win. This is really a win-win. And we are very happy of making the decision of starting this cooperation 10 years ago. And we are very happy of the achievements we have got so far, which are very modest yet, but they're substantially good for our expectations. So thank you very much. I hope some of this information can be of inspiration for all of you.
Thank you very much, Jim. And certainly for me, a lot of insights from the many companies you have founded or advised. So thanks. We have 10 minutes more for a few questions. There were already a few in the Q&A box. I will start with a couple of questions for Wendy. I see the first question, are foreign medical devices, medicines included in the central procurement program? This is the first question.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have the answer yes or no at this moment. It depends on the type of the medicine or the type of medical devices. But we witness the trends of pharmaceuticals as well as medical devices will be put into consideration in the central procurement program.
Okay. Maybe I also see there were a couple of other pretty technical questions. Maybe I would invite you to write to us or to leave us your email address so that we can consult with our experts in the field, because this involves registrations of products, which is very technical, and we can get back to you within the next few days. So please leave us your email address. Another question I see for you, Wendy. How can I find and select a good distributor for medical devices in this category, IVD laboratory consumers?
Thank you. CBBC, we have research team dedicated working in healthcare life science sector. Normally, we can do market research and due diligence for the potential partners which we think could be your potential distributor in the future. So therefore, we will provide some recommendation and advice based on our research and due diligence.
Thank you, Wendy. Then I would like to go back to Stefan about the question that I mentioned before, about whether it is possible for China-based entities or researchers to join your the Transpac initiative.
I mean, maybe right now joining would be complicated because this is still European Commission funded. But as I mentioned in the presentation, Chinese vaccine developers or device developers that develop devices for vaccines, they can certainly apply for these free services. Now, this could be of interest. So this is clearly open for applicants from China or elsewhere in the world. So, but we're also now looking into this sustainability option. So this will take a new legal format in the near future. Hopefully, this might then also be open for different ways of participation from Chinese researchers or companies. This we have to see in the future. But for the time being, applying for these services certainly is possible for Chinese device developers if this is vaccine related.
Thank you, Stefan. And maybe if I can add something, maybe I would build on this to ask another question to Johnny. We know that there were some co-funding, you introduced this co-funding, this international cooperation programs at the Shanghai level, but are there, we know that also at the EU level and the China national level, there were co-funding mechanisms, at least during Horizon 2020. Do you know, are you aware if there is going to be anything similar for the Horizon Europe? So any co-funding initiative that could support cooperation?
From my understanding, I understand the co-funding mechanism was regulated by the Ministry of Science and Technology in China. So they have the similar programs like the Horizon 2020, but for the latest Horizon Europe programs, the government is still regulating and also still organizing the latest co-funding mechanism for the to in line with the Horizon Europe program.
Very good. And maybe I can also add a comment. I saw you already responded to one question in the Q&A about other local programs at the local level. Actually, also the SME Center, we have previously done a mapping of all the incentives available from local administrations at different levels. So you could have provincial level, but also municipal, but also district level. So we can also be able to assist eventually if you're interested in knowing more about these programs. You can reach out to us. I see another question related to Shanghai. Would it be, still to you, Johnny, would it be possible, and I believe how, to get connected to the local Shanghai government representative?
So for the foreign partners who want to apply for the Shanghai program, first maybe I would suggest to check the website in detail, and also with the support from the Chinese partner, because before you making any application, you should have the clear idea who will you cooperate with, and to have the proposal before the applications, and also to consult with the Sme Center and also other consulting companies to support you in writing the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Another question that I see is for Jim, and Jim is already typing the answer, but I think we can answer orally. Why is it interesting for Chinese medical devices companies to come to Europe when their home market is already so big and they need to diversify their marketing and even product for each country? What do you think?
Well, this is a very good question, because we are and maybe Margaret can give us their vision. We are in a very important transition period. Until 2020, I'm being very simplistic, China's vision was to catch up to the development of other Western regions. So their priority was grow, economic growth, improvement of the technology, development of new products. Since 2010, the new policy of President Xi is about creating an influential, having an influential stage in an influential role in international markets. And this means that China is becoming more and more interested in becoming a global leader. Same like the United States, same like European countries. You get large enough and then you want to be a leader, and this means to be in Europe. So one of the reasons is to give this support to their leadership. Well, maybe the problem is that because of the size of the market in Europe is smaller, they may have too much volume expectations, and the European market is more a quality-based market and is much more segmented. But the trend is here, and it's here to stay. In the future, by the way, I'm talking about Fitbit. I told that Fitbit product is produced in China, but under a Google brand. Same like the iPhone is produced in China, but under an American brand. So what China is willing to catch up this gap. This is the reason, and makes sense to do it because they have economies of scale. They have very good technology, production capacity. And remember that now China is more and more starting to produce products, low quality, low added value products in other countries like Vietnam or other countries. So China is looking for these high level, high quality products. And this means being in Europe. And sometimes, by the way, means having a European brand as well, because this means a guarantee of a quality, of a support, of a customer orientation, which is very good. We learn from each other. I don't know if I answered the question, but this is the reason.
Very good. For me, it was a very good answer. And maybe one very last question, still for you, Jim. What would be your approach for locating a possible right partner in China in a specific area, for instance, antimicrobial technologies?
Which example, Antti? I didn't understand the end of your question.
It's in the Q&A box. It's the last question by Thomas.
Excuse me. Let me go. Anti-microbial technologies. Okay, that's very good. This is a very difficult area to get in. I always say the same. First of all, you need to see if your product has a competitive advantage over local products. This is something that, for example, some of the agencies that are involved in this meeting can help you to assess. This is very important because China is very competitive. They do very good products, and antimicrobial products, they are very good as well, okay? I don't know if we are talking disinfection or we are talking antibiotics, but in the two areas, they are very good. The second is that if your product is very good, you need to find someone who has access to your target market, and think that the target market can be, if the target market is hospitals, you think that most hospitals are government or public-owned hospitals, which means that you need to have some distributor that has a very good access to this particular target, which is not any kind of distributor. Is it possible? But it takes time, and you need to make a lot of meetings, meet a lot of people, seek for recommendations, look for someone who has already made the path and try to follow. I know about companies that has developed, for example, their own local branch for pharmaceutical products, and they have been very successful. So it's not impossible, but it's much more difficult. It's not like I'm going to look for a distributor who is going to carry my product in China. This is not going to happen like this. It's a different approach. I cannot extend, but if you send me your contact. Maybe I can, but it's not too much because I am not an expert on this particular kind of product.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
I would end up here this webinar. Of course, if there are we will get back to the couple of questions we haven't answered by email. And of course, if there are any questions in the next days, please reach out to us at any time, also to the speakers directly, obviously. So thank you very much, everyone, for the webinar. Also, thanks to Magdalena from PARP, from the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development, for coordinating this, and all to all the speakers. Have a great day or evening.